It's called the fundamental versus of the middle way.
Right, last but not least, we've got a tall man from Peak Technology.
Who wants to be an entrepreneur? No one? Oh, good. We have
Who wants
one.
to make money?
Well, you can make money a lot of different ways. Who wants 15,000 RMB? All right, like there's two people going to get that right. So, who wants to be an entrepreneur? I got two now. 3, 4. Okay, so when Dr. Tait asked me to speak tonight, I wanted to share with you some ideas on how to be an entrepreneur when you've got no chance of being an entrepreneur. Okay? So in other words, how to make something from nothing. Well, if you could make something from nothing, who wants to be an entrepreneur? No, nobody. That's all right. I'll warm you up. Who can't understand what I'm saying? Who can understand what I'm saying? You. Who wants to be and you, right? All right. So I talk funny because I'm from down under, New Zealand. Okay. I sound British, don't I? Yeah. But I'm not. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to talk to you about ideas. This is all how to take an idea and turn it into reality, and I think that somewhere tonight you may just have an idea, right? And I want to help you understand how to make that come true, because if you could, you may get 15,000 RMB, right? Somebody's going to help. Yeah, there's money there, all right? So why do we have ideas? Well, our ideas are an expression of ourself. I don't know if you know, but the person sitting next to you doesn't think the same as you. Okay? Like you're you. And the only thing you have to be different to anybody else is to be you. Because as soon as you try and conform to be the same as everybody else, to get the same job that everybody else is going for, you're no longer you, and now you've got nothing unique about you, right? So what you understand is what's going on inside your head is real, and it's you, and it's right, and even though you're taught to conform, right, in an educational institution, some ways, because you're all taught the same thing, but on the other side, what's going on behind the scenes in your brain is different. You're hearing it differently. So why do we have ideas? Well, we have ideas to solve problems. Because we're problem solvers, right? That's a human being. That's our whole brain is working on solving problems. Do you know what you do if you haven't got a problem to solve? You make problems for other people. And then you go and help them. You go and help them solve their problems, right? So you might have a grandma like that.
Or colleague like that.
A lot of old people get like that. They've got nothing to do, so they make problems, and then they've got something to do because they've got a problem to solve, right? So if ideas create problems and ideas solve problems, how many ideas can we have? We can have like a million ideas, right? You've got a million ideas. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? But is it true? How many people have a million ideas racing around in their heads all the time? Oh, I got a few more hands up. Great. Good. It's true. So it doesn't matter, like if you want 15,000 RMB, it doesn't matter where you've got your idea. You just got to have an idea. And so on that basis, we should understand that we're an idea factory. So if you go and get a job, maybe you're taught not to have an idea because you're meant to do what you're told to do because you're a mouse on a wheel running around and around the wheel somebody else designed, right? But even when you're running around on the wheel, you're still having ideas because nobody can stop that. So the question is, can you have confidence in your idea? So let's have a look And what happens is if you actually make an idea come true, you get what's called success. And if you have success, you get recognition, you feel strong, achievement, security, optimism, confidence. You've done innovation, so there's something which comes with that, and happiness. Innovation is not an emotion, by the way, so it doesn't really belong there. Which one of these is not like the other? Yeah? That's kind of, missed that. How many of you want to feel all of those things? A few, yeah? You can raise a virtual hand and I can feel it. Yeah? Just go like that or something, just something. Pretend. Okay, so let's talk about ideas. Right? It says here, written by Perry and Harrison Tait. Harrison's my son. He left school at 16. And he came and worked with me. I said, I can't give you an education except we can start a business together and let's see how it goes. Yeah. So now we're a global company. We started together in 2011. So we thought we'd write this book, but we haven't yet. But it's an idea.
The cover's done.
The cover's done. All right. So ideas is a thinking process. You'll walk away tonight with a thinking process. Okay. So it's what do you call those things when the letters all line up and make a word? Acronym? Yeah, there you go. See, I had to call a friend, right? And so it's an acronym, right? Do you know what I mean when I say acronym? That's one of those, right? So I stands for inspiration. Now, the most important thing if you're going to get the essence of this is to understand only the meaning of the word. If you understand the meaning of any word, you get it, and if you don't, you don't. Okay? So I'm going to go through with you quickly what it means. It's a suddenly brilliant mental picture. Usually you get them in the shower, right? You're just in the shower, you go, bing, like, I got it, right? I know exactly how to do this thing. Now, I don't know what it is about showers that give you sudden, brilliant mental inspirations, but that's where you get them, okay? So if you haven't had a good idea, go and have a shower, right? Okay, I'm sure one will pop in for somewhere. Right, design. Design is really, really important because it's producing a plan for something before it exists, right? This is really the most exciting part is that, do you know what's not design? Copy, right? Copy. So if you go and work for a company and you have a look at the company and you say, so what do you do? And you see everything's a copy, then you know there's no design going on. So if you want to be involved in something which is moving forward and fresh and fast and everything like that, you've got to be looking for some company that's doing things that haven't been done before. If you're excited about doing things that haven't been done before. Yeah? Which I think if you guys are studying communication, you should be. Now, what happens, you know, there was a time where this chair did not exist. But chairs existed. So it's not like I'm going to invent something to sit on that nobody's ever sat on before that's not a chair, like a hover chair or something. But that's one day somebody said it should look different, right? And then so he designs it. But the dude who gets that and says, hey, draw that up and make one that looks the same, right? That's not design, that's copy, okay? So that's the most important thing about design, is understanding you're creating something that didn't exist. And then execution, oh, I can read it there. Huh. Whew, this is so much easier. Execution is putting a plan into effect. So I'm going to go over it later to show you how these work together, but just one by one through. And then A is for allies. How many of you know Guangxi? Oh my God, nobody knows Guangxi? How do I say it? Did I say it wrong? Say it loud so they can hear.
Guangxi.
All right, how many know Guangxi? The same number of people.
It's wrong. I think you're trying to say 关系, right?
Relationship.
关系.
Oh, you got it. You're listening to me. You're listening to me instead of like him, right? So, like, this is what China does amazingly well, is have, what is it?
关系.
That one.
There you go.
Right? So it does it amazingly well. So if you can get that, you've got to say, who's going to help me? Or the opposite of having allies and friends and associates and affiliates and other people who can help you is that you're going to do it, what's another A word? Alone. Right? So alone is okay, but you just got to decide. Okay? And share is got a very special definition. How many of you have heard of Steve Jobs? Yes, that's better. All right. So, Steve Jobs defined share.
Oh, wow. It was, I got the first few rows had all the people that worked on the map, about 100 people, 150 people that really made it happen, were all seated in the first few rows.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to tell you when this was. Did you know that there was a time before the personal computer? Right? So Steve Jobs was the first guy to release the personal computer in such a way that people could actually use them. Yeah? And he's talking about the launch of the Apple? No, before that. The Macintosh. Right? So he's talking about the Macintosh.
Yeah. Oh, wow. It was, I got the first few rows had all the people that worked on the map, about 100 people, 150 people that really made it happen, were all seated in the first few rows. When it was introduced, after we went through it all and had the computer speak to people itself and things like that, the whole auditorium of about 2,500 people gave it a standing ovation. And the whole first few rows of Mac folks were all just crying. All of us were just, I was biting my tongue very hard because I had a little bit more to do. But it was a very, very emotional moment because it was no longer ours. From that day forward, it was no longer ours. We couldn't change it. If we had a good idea the following day, it was too late. It belonged to the world at that point in time.
It was no longer ours. It belonged to the world at that point in time. If we had a great idea, we couldn't change it. You can change it later model. You can flick through and upgrade, right? But at that point in time. So this is the time where you've got your idea through to share. When you've shared something, it's not like, hey grandma, I got an idea, right? Yes, that's called sharing in English, but that's not this share, right? This share is when it's actually out there. I was going to use an Australian colloquialism. It's inappropriate, so I've put the mute button. And but basically, you're fully exposed, right? So it's going to happen or not happen. You're going to get the results or not get the results, right? So ideas is not a linear process. Remember, this is a thought process. So I'm showing you exactly what the steps are that you have to go through. But it kind of looks really cool as a logo, and it sounds really good when you hear me present it like that, but it actually looks like that, right? So what happens is you have an inspiration, right, which is the driver of your innovation, and then you want to go into design, right, and you're doing all this in your head, right? So it's an imagination. All right, so it's not real. You're just designing in your head. And then you go into this next phase, which is, okay, well, if I have that design, how's it going to happen? Like, what's my implementation? What's my plan? Like, what's my strategy? Like, that's all in execute. So design and execute look similar, but are not. Design is when you're bringing something into reality that didn't exist before. Execute is how you're going to try and make that happen, that plan happen, right? Oh, I can look here. And your allies is easy, right? And then you're going to share it. Now, what's happening is all this is happening in your head and on little pieces of paper and in a book and with conversations with your peers and talking to, mum and dad and grandma and auntie and uncle and talking with everybody. So you're trying to build this idea and it's an imagination. Then when you've been, somebody comes along and goes, sweetie, you can't do that because you haven't got enough money. Oh, but I could get 15,000 RMB from ICANN, right? But it might be something else, like you've never done it before or whatever. So the person in execute is always critical, almost always. Like they feel critical. That's because when they praise you and encourage you, you don't feel it because it's already your idea and of course it's going to work, right? So you only hear what they say that's warning you that it's not going to work. Okay? So your execute is the execute and the design. Now somebody gives you a really good point and says the execute, like, did you think that let's say you've got some idea which is electronic and you wanted to do it in 12 volt and it actually needs more power, so you'd need a 400 amp hour battery or something which you can't find, and so somebody points out you need a 400 amp hour battery or you're going to have to hook up to 220 volt mains, right? Am I talking too fast? So basically somebody shows you that your idea doesn't work, so what do you have to do? You then have to go from execute, thank you very much for helping me my execute, I have to go back to design. Yeah? And you go design, execute, somebody gives you an execute which actually kills your whole idea, and then you have to go and have another shower. You got to start with another brilliant mental spark and be an entrepreneur again. Okay? So, and I want to share with you like how important your imagination is. Right, because all of this is an imagination until you get to share, to that final share where it's no longer yours and it belongs to the world and you're going to be judged for it, whether it wins or loses. Because even your sales and marketing idea is a dream, right? You're making it up. Your business plan, you're making it up. The reason you're going to get 15,000 RMB next month is because you made it up. Like, we know that. We're business people. Yeah? What you've got to do is be confident that your imagination can come true. Yeah? You've got to, the person with the most confidence wins. So what's happening is you've got an imagination to go through your inspiration and your design and your execute and your design and your execute and back to inspiration and then, okay, let's redesign and re-execute and, you know, go all the way through. And it's all just an imagination and it doesn't even exist. And then somebody says, okay, I'll give you 15,000 RMB. Yeah? Isn't it? Like what's happened right now? You've just got an imagination that somebody said, I'll give you 15,000 RMB to see if you can make your imagination come true. So what do? Now you've got to go and do this whole thing again, but in the real world. If you have to make a product, then you have to go and make a 3D print of the, well, somebody's got to draw it up on CAD, and then somebody does a 3D print, and then you test your little 3D print, and you do, somebody's got to do some stress testing. I've got a little product in mind right now, right? And so somebody will do some 3D printing, and then you'll look at how you're going to do your sales and marketing. So that's your A for allies. Am I going to put it out through distribution, or am I going to run a Taobao shop, or am I going to sell it through party plans with all my friends, or whatever it is like that? And so, but again, you're still imagining, right? Even though it's real, now your little prototype is real. Then you make a mold. Then you get the samples from the mold works, right? So then you say, okay, let's do our first run of products. You're still imagining. Parts of it are becoming real all the way through, but actually your business, your entrepreneurialism is an imagination. And it never stops. Like these guys that work with me, right? They know it never stops. You never stop imagining. You have to know you're imagining. You have to know that your imaginations can come true. Right? If anybody persuades you that you're imagining and somehow that stops you, you can never be an entrepreneur. Yeah? And you can probably not add very much value to the company that you work for. Because everybody needs to imagine. Can you feel that? Right? And so in the end, you make your little product and then you put it out into the world and you put your marketing campaign, and your marketing campaign fails to meet your expectations, right? Which is quite likely, right? And so now what do you have to do? You have to go back to design. You may need an inspiration, right? So you have a shower, yeah? And then that might say, oh, you know, we've been trying to do this on Taobao, but maybe we should do it in AliExpress, or maybe we should, you know, walk around and put them on all the family marts in Shanghai, or whatever it is your little product is, you know? But you've got to go back to the beginning, and you've got to be prepared to go over and over and over and over again, this whole cycle, right? And none of it's real at any time until you've shared and you find out, but mostly you'll find out that it didn't meet your expectations, so you have to think again, and so you're back in none of it's real land. And that is the world. Like, how many of you want to be an entrepreneur? Okay, if you've been inspired by this, then I'm sure you'll succeed, okay? All right, so that's it from me. Like, I wish you all well. I hope some of you try something. You know what I mean? There are guys who are just billion guys. They're entrepreneurs, but they're not what I'm talking about. Like, I'm talking about 0 to something. You know, like if you want to have a family one day and you don't want to have to go to work after 4 months and you want to be able to run your little business from home and raise your kid yourself and, you know, do all those things, you can be an entrepreneur. If it gives you 60,000 RMB a year or 100,000 RMB a year, but it's yours, it's your baby, right? Your product, your everything. You know what I mean? You don't have to be a billionaire to be an entrepreneur. I'm not. But I love the journey, right? Like when Klaus talked about loving the process, loving what you do. He loves his job, I love my job, right? And we just keep reinvesting in ideas and having fun. Okay? So dream on. Be confident in your imaginations. Yeah? Dreams do come true. Don't give up. Realize it's a long, hard journey. But if you knew all along you're only imagining, then when your imagination doesn't come true, it doesn't hurt so much. Okay? All right, signing out.
Thank you very much.